So I'm Sophie Roberts. I am a PhD researcher at the University of Auckland, and I'm working on the muscle restoration project.
Perfect.
So with all the restoration that's going on, we want to know how it's going and what's happening down there. So I'm working on how we do that. So the monitoring side, working out what metrics we should monitor and how we should monitor the reefs.
Now, how important is this monitoring to the larger restoration process?
So monitoring is a really critical part of restoration, of any restoration. And unfortunately, it's kind of the part that's often forgotten. It's kind of the afterthought. It can be quite expensive and quite time intensive. So we've had some reefs down for about 5 years, and trying to monitor over 5 years can be quite tricky. So that's where my research is trying to standardize monitoring, so that going forward, it's quite an easy process of you just pull out the framework and repeat it as you go forward.
What are your tools? What do you go about doing? Because one of the things about shellfish restoration is that it's not a visible science. It's not like planting trees. You can't see what's going on. You can't see the benefits. So how do you go about finding out what's going on down there, not just as a snapshot, but as a continuum?
Yeah, so that's definitely been one of the challenges with my research, is making something that's not really visible. We're currently based heavily on scuba to see what's happening down there. We have used photogrammetry methods to kind of take a visual picture, and then you can stitch it together and see kind of at a large scale what the reef's looking like. But that is one of the challenges going forward, and that's what I'm trying to work out, is how we can make something more visible.
Can you explain photogrammetry?
Yeah. So photogrammetry involves taking a series of pictures of the reef area and then using software to stitch them together to get a big mosaic of a large area.
And how does that help?
So it gives a visual snapshot of the reef at one time. The reefs that we work on that typically don't have best visibility, and so it really helps see it as a whole altogether.
What are the factors that are making it not like diving on the Great Barrier Reef?
So the environments that we're working in are soft sediment. So instead of being a hard rocky substrate, it's quite soft sediment. Any wave action that kind of pulls up the sediment and you get plumes. And so it's just kind of where the mussels live.
Is that an obstacle for restoration?
Yeah, so that's one of the challenges we're facing, is getting these mussels established again in the soft sediment environment. We know that they were once there, and it's kind of a chicken and egg cycle in terms of the mussels will help the sediment, but the sediment needs to be able to support the mussels to start with.
Tell me about the nuts and bolts of your monitoring and your scuba work. Tell me about a kind of average day monitoring. What does it involve?
Yeah, so for the mussel reefs, we go out on a boat, anchor up, find the site. So the first step is finding the mussel reef. That often involves a bit of a underwater search. And then once we've got the mussel reef, we measure it. So we're tracking the change through time as to if the reef's growing or shrinking in size. And then we start looking at the mussels themselves. So doing counts to see kind of how dense the reef is, how big the mussels are, how many alive mussels there are, how many dead mussels there are. And then we start to look at the sediment and the environment around them. So taking some samples to work out the grain size and kind of sediment composition. And then we can also put some cameras down to look at the biodiversity that's on the reefs.
Cameras, you leave the cameras down there?
Yeah, so the cameras are deployed for 3 hours. They're put down an hour and a half before low tide, and so it captures the incoming and the outgoing tide, and we try to time it around midday, because if we're doing it throughout the year or across different years, we try to standardize it as much as we can.
Any surprises from the film down there? Did suddenly kind of large creatures come up, or like octopuses kind of grab the camera?
Yes, so I sit through and watch all the videos, and one time I thought, oh, it looks like the camera's moved slightly. And then an octopus arm had come down in front of the lens. just checked out the camera a little bit and then got off the camera and went and sat on the mussel reef, and I could watch him having his lunch.
And they'll eat the mussels?
Yep.
They can prise them open?
Yeah, so it's actually really cool watching them eat them. They'll use their arms and just with force crack the mussels open. And you can always tell when they've got it open is this kind of this exhale of air and body. And then they have this tasty snack.
Oh, yeah, just like a sit-down lunch.
Yeah. I also had an eagle ray that came through and again sat on a clump of mussels, and you saw some sediment stir up and then off he swam with probably a few less mussels on the reef.
Do you feel like you are involved in something which has a big future?
Yeah, so I never was set on doing a PhD. I was kind of along the lines of, well, if something comes out that takes my fancy, and particularly this project, it had the combination of kind of pure science, but also a wider impact, and I could see where my science was going to be applied and hopefully carried on post my PhD. So that was kind of a real draw card to restoration in this project.
Do you like mussels? I mean, because often, researchers that are doing this really intense, quite long term, you've kind of got to love your subject, don't you?
Yeah, no, mussels are great. I think, they're really great animals. I don't particularly like to eat them, but I love working with them.
What do you like about them?
They're such a simple animal, yet they provide us so much.
What do they provide us with?
So a mussel reef will create habitat, kind of these hard structures. And if we're talking about soft sediment environments, they can be quite flat. And then if you have a mussel reef, it creates 3D structure and habitat. So things like fish and other small critters can come and move in. They help, like I said, stabilize the sediment, and they provide what we call ecosystem services. So things that we can benefit from what they're doing down there.
So what's not to love, really?
Pretty much.